Welcome into day 2 of our Locked On's Top 50 Most Valuable NBA Players. This is not your normal MVP conversation. This list was built in conjunction with our partners at BetOnline, ranking players based on how much they influence a game's betting line. So this really tells you how much your favorite player can affect the spread. We have the top 50 in the NBA for you over the next week, and we hope you tune in. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts. We have broken it all down with our Locked On hosts who cover these teams every single day. We're going to start out this list today with a big man that was expected to be on the move this offseason until the Suns pulled out all the stops to lock him down long term. But now that he's paid, will he deliver? At number 40 on our list is DeAndre Ayton.
Inconsistency burns you in the NBA. DeAndre Ayton clocking in at number 40 on the BetOnline Top 50 NBA Players list. Incredibly fair. He is inconsistent. He has not proven that he's in the cream of crop in the NBA. Brendan Clean here from Locked On Suns. If you did this list after the 2021 postseason, Ayton's top 20, top 30 for sure, but that's why you play the games. He has not demonstrated over the course of 82 games, over the course of consecutive playoff series, that he can be a difference maker, especially on the offensive end. He was not a very impactful player in the Suns' second round loss this year. He has had tons of games in his career where you miss him. To be ahead of Jaren Jackson, Bam Adebayo, Pascal Siakam, these other big men, that consistency, that well-rounded game has to be there. The bottom line is right now, it's just not, making number 40, frankly, a fairly respectful ranking for him. I would not be surprised if he's lower on other lists.
Number 39 on our list turned in his third straight season in the top 20 of both scoring and assists, but that hasn't quite turned into an All-Star game appearance or even a winning season. Sacramento Kings hope to take that next step with De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox is 39th on BetOnline's NBA Top 50 list, and it makes sense. Even though I think he's going to put up significantly better numbers than some of the players ahead of him, will those numbers actually impact Kings wins? That's the major question. Hi, I'm Matt George here on the Locked On Kings podcast. Him being a couple spaces above Domantas Sabonis, I think, is also fitting, even if Sabonis is extremely important to Sacramento's offense. We understand that Mike Brown wants to run fast pace. When you have the fastest guard in the league in De'Aaron Fox, or at least one of the fastest guards in the league in Fox, obviously it's going to run a lot through him. Fox is going to take the Kings as far as they are going to possibly go, and I think he is going to put up better numbers than guys like LaMelo Ball or maybe even Darius Garland ahead of him on this list, but that doesn't matter if the Sacramento Kings aren't winning. So if Fox is putting up big numbers, which we expect, and the Kings are winning too, he should be higher on this list. But for right now, I'm okay with where he's at.
The trajectory is sky high for the number 38 player on our list, sorted out by BetOnline. He's gone from All-American in high school to AP All-American in college, and now a selection to the All-Rookie team. The Pistons have hopes at a playoff run with tools like number 1 pick, Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham should be the highest ranked player from the 2021 draft class on BetOnline's top 50 most valuable NBA players list heading into this season. I'm Kuka Hill, host of the Locked On Pistons podcast, and the one gripe that I have with this list is the fact that Cade Cunningham is not the highest ranked player from the 2021 draft class. Having Cade 38th heading into this season as the 38th most valuable player heading into this season, I actually think it's pretty fair. I think it does him a lot of justice. It gives him a lot of credit. I think it gives him a lot of attention that he deserves. So I'm actually pretty cool with him, in all honesty, with him being at number 38. But the fact that Mobley is 14, 15 spots ahead of him, if Cade was playing with 3 other All-Stars, he'd look like a superstar already too. If he was playing with Jared Allen, Darius Garland his rookie season, he might look good too. The cast in Cleveland's so much better than Detroit. It's silly. If you asked Mobley to do what Cade had to do last year, he wouldn't be able to do it. Cade should be higher than Mobley, but having him 38th, in all honesty, I think it's pretty fair, and I'm cool with that.
Coming up, more young stars hoping to take the next step, crack the top 50. That's coming up next. Our list of the NBA's top 50 most valuable players is brought to you in part by Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. We all have subscriptions to a bunch of different things at this point, and we all know how annoying it is when you forget to cancel them. This app allows all your subscriptions to be in one place and cancels what you don't want for you. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions with Rocket Money today. Just go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. It'll be 8 NBA seasons for our next player in 2022, making it easy to forget that he's still only 26 years old as he comes off his 3rd All-Star season. It also makes number 37 on our list, Karl-Anthony Towns, the most veteran member of that Minnesota Timberwolves Big Three, which our Locked On Wolves host hopes will lead toward playoff contending soon.
Of 3 Timberwolves players ranked on the BetOnline top 50 most valuable players, Karl-Anthony Towns is the lowest of the 3 in the top 50. That isn't right. My name's Ben Beacon. I'm the host of Locked On Wolves, and Cat needs to be higher on this list. He comes in at number 37. The Timberwolves last season alone went 1-5 without him in the lineup. They were, of course, 45-31 with him. We've seen this in prior years. Now, last year was different. They won 46 games. They were a playoff team. They gave Memphis a tough time in the first round. The previous year, they went just 4-19 without him in the lineup. They were still 19-30 with him. So, year before last, even when they were a bad team, they were competitive, 19-30 with Towns on the floor. And they were arguably the worst team in the league without him at 4-19. Cat makes a massive impact on offense. He's a true 3-level scorer and basically a 7-footer. So to rank him as low as 37 on this list seems kind of crazy to me. I think he should definitely be much higher and probably certainly ahead of Anthony Edwards and possibly even Rudy Gobert. So all things considered, Cat's got to be a little higher on this list.
Our next player makes it this far up our list, partly because of his defensive prowess. The NBA's leader in blocks last season and all-defensive first-team selection at just 22 years old. Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Jaren Jackson Jr. should be ranked lower on the BetOnline top 50 NBA players list. I'm Joe Momonax from Locked On Grizzlies, and no, you didn't mishear me. I'm arguing for one of my players that I follow closely to be ranked not quite as high, because I think that his defensive acumen is being a bit overrated. Not that he's a bad defensive player. He obviously had a strong season on that end of the floor, but his offensive inconsistency really wore on the Grizzlies at times. There would be games against the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs where he would be unguardable. Draymond Green said it himself. And then there would be other times that he completely was not a threat, either from range, coming off the dribble. All the things that he theoretically, physically has shown that sometimes he can do is not there consistently. You can argue that despite his reputation, Ja Morant is even a better three-point shooter than Jaren at this stage. Is Jaren Jackson Jr. better than Karl-Anthony Towns and some of the other names behind him on this list? I'm not convinced that's the case. Jaren probably should be a bit lower than 36.
The Cleveland Cavaliers are checking in at number 35, taking another big step in his third season and making his first All-Star game. A career high in points, rebounds, and assists has BetOnline high on the Cavaliers' Darius Garland.
Cleveland All-Star guard Darius Garland coming in at 35 is criminal since he's arguably the most valuable player on Cleveland's roster right now. I'm Evan Damerol from the Locked On Cavs podcast, and let's be frank, I take Darius Garland over most of the players ranked ahead of him, even his new co-star Donovan Mitchell. Sure, you can make the argument that he's not the best player in the NBA right now, but when it comes to the value odds makers and bettors have on Darius, he should be ranked much higher. If you really focused on Cleveland's season last year, you would notice that after Colin Sexton went down and after Ricky Rubio went down, Cleveland had to ask a lot more of Darius Garland all along the season. When his back issues flared up, Cleveland fell apart at the seams, and their once promising season went from the top team in the Eastern Conference to a middle-ranked team in the Eastern Conference to a play-in team, and then sitting on their couches when the playoffs rolled around. That's where you can really make a compelling argument for Darius Garland because he is the engine that drives this offense for Cleveland. He is the all-star that carries Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen because neither can create their own shots. And now with Donovan Mitchell in tow, I think we're going to see an even better season from Darius Garland entering his fourth year in the NBA. It's a little crazy to think about too because he went pretty nuclear last year.
Another defensive star in at 34, but this one has 3 seasons on the all-defensive team in a row to his name. Things are looking up after the second double-double season for Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat.
While Bam Adebayo is consistently one of the best defenders in the NBA, it's his inconsistency as a scorer that has Bam ranked 34th in the BetOnline Top 50 NBA Players list. I'm David O'Mill from the Locked On Heat podcast, and it's hard to disagree with Bam's rank, especially because it reflects so many of the concerns from Heat fans. There's no argument against Bam being one of the most versatile bigs in the NBA, truly capable of guarding anyone on the floor and a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He also runs the floor exceedingly well and is an excellent passer, but it's his growth as a scorer that has been slower than expected, and there are moments where he has still, even in year 5, tentative to shoot. He's shown only occasional flashes of dominance on offense, all of which adds to that frustration for fans who know he's capable of being a go-to scorer. But all that aside, Adebayo is still one of the best players in the league. Not particularly flashy, and yet skilled enough to impact every facet of the game. The NBA is more versatile than ever, and Bam fits it perfectly, and it'll only rank higher as his shooting range continues to expand.
Coming up, a pair of teammates round out the rest of today's players. That's coming up next. The youngest member of the Timberwolves' Big Three ended up beating out Karl-Anthony Towns on our list after he exploded onto the scene in his sophomore season, making a name for his electric athleticism, personality as well. Number 33 is the Minnesota Timberwolves' Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards is properly rated at number 33 in the BetOnline Top 50 NBA Players list. I'm Ben Beacon from the Locked On Wolves podcast, and Ant is right where he belongs at number 33. Last season, believe it or not, in the 10 games in which Anthony Edwards did not play, the Timberwolves went 7-3. They were only 39-33 with him, which is still obviously a good record. They were still a good team. I'm not at all suggesting Ant shouldn't be on this list. It's just, I don't know that he needs to be any higher. Of the three Timberwolves players on the list, spoiler if you hadn't figured that out, between Rudy, Cat, and Ant, Anthony Edwards probably deserves to be last among the three of them in terms of their value to the team. The actual on-court production for Ant, sometimes the offensive inefficiency, sometimes the lapses defensively, especially off the ball. We're, of course, splitting hairs. Anthony Edwards is fantastic. He's likely going to be an all-star this year. But to have him 33 is probably about right when it's all said and done.
This next player was once known more for his dunks, but now he's an all-star, the number 32 player influencing the lines, just gets a lot of time on the court. He's top 20 in minutes per game and usage percentage in the last 4 seasons. Now maybe he can turn all that work into winning a playoff series in Chicago. Number 32 is Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine comes in pretty fairly ranked on this list, except for a few players above him. I'm looking at Chris Middleton. I think Zach LaVine should be ranked pretty well above Chris Middleton, but I'm Hayes. That's Pat, the designer. We're from Locked On Bulls. Pat, what do you think about this list?
Yeah, y'all know my Chris Middleton take is that Chris Middleton really stands out sometimes, but not all the time. And so I think Zach LaVine's a player that he's going to give you game in and game out production, right? He's going to be able to come out there, get the job done on a consistent basis. Last season was an odd season based on health, but I think that when you look at Zach, right, Zach can do just about everything. Chris Middleton defense definitely way better than Zach LaVine's, but I think, and weirdly, right, I think we both just feel Chris Middleton's ranked a little high on this list.
That's really what this is more about. Zach is ranked pretty fairly.
Yeah.
Pascal Siakam, you could probably make an argument for too, but I feel it's a pretty fair ranking for Zach LaVine.
The number 31 player on our list is too good to let a new team lower his value too much. 3 All-Star games, 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and the number 1 rebounder last season pretty much say it all. The Minnesota Timberwolves, Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert is ranked far too low on the BetOnline Top 50 NBA Players list. I'm Ben Beacon from the Locked On Wolves podcast, and Gobert is ranked number 31, which is just insane. Are there really 30 players in the NBA who have a bigger impact on winning than Rudy Gobert? I'd have to say no. The Jazz last year went just 7-9 without Rudy Gobert on the floor in the regular season. They're 49-33 overall, and 42-24 with him. So 7-9 without him, 42-24 with him. The worst season that Utah had after Rudy became a full-time player in year 3 of his career was 40 wins. Their worst season with Rudy on the team was 40 wins. Rudy Gobert is going to have a massive impact on the Timberwolves this year. He's essentially a walking top 10 defense by himself. Utah was a top 10 defense every season but one, with Rudy Gobert playing regular minutes in their rotation. Wait till you see some of the names ranked ahead of Rudy Gobert on this list. It's an absolute crime, and he needs to be ranked higher.
There is still a ton of talent on our list, and we are just getting started. Tune in tomorrow to see which of your favorite players crack the Locked On NBA Top 50 Most Valuable Players, according to BetOnline, where the game starts. Follow your favorite Locked On NBA show to get more analysis on our Top 50 list. I'm Kainani Stevens. This is Locked On, your team every day.